Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art, and we like to do watercolor tutorials. We do a new project every week and we break it down step by step so you can follow along wherever you are on your watercolor journey. We love you, we honor you, we're glad you're here with us. Today we are doing our vintage bus. Oh, fun little project. This is a bonus one, so if you subscribe, it's not going to be in the box. This is just an extra little fun thing for you.
You're welcome.
Moana.
Moana.
We're using 4 colors for this project. The first one is Dandelion Yellow, which is my favorite yellow because it's nice and warm. Our second color is Azure Blue, which I had to learn how to pronounce correctly once I started filming these tutorials.
It took a few weeks.
It truly did, and people were upset, but it's okay. We figured it out. Our third color is Red. And our last color is Black. If you're using Dr. P.H. Martin's, the equivalents are Daffodil Yellow, Turquoise, Scarlet, and Black. Again, you can use your own supplies. If you have tube watercolors, you're essentially looking for red, yellow, blue, black. That's it. We are using 2 paintbrushes for this tutorial, around 6 and around 2, Princeton Heritage 4050 series. Excellent brushes. If you're getting frustrated with your watercolor brushes because bristles are falling out, things like that, you might want to invest, I think it's like 15 bucks for the pair or something. Worth it. These brushes are great. And we have an outline for this project, so you can go to letsmakeart.com, find the Vintage Bus project page, click on the button that says download outline. You can print it and paint along. And I use graphite paper to trace, which is this. Dark side down.
Used to come on checks.
Make a mark. Yeah, it did, huh?
Yeah.
It's not called graphite paper though, it's called something else.
Transfer paper.
Oh, I feel like there's another. What is it? Carbon
paper.
Thank you.
We have a guest in the background.
We have Aisha, who is customer service. Can I say you're also HR? And also HR. She does a magnificent job.
Even if you couldn't say that, they could hear the whisper.
I figured maybe Chris could just edit that little part out or something. That's why I tried not to move my mouth. I was just like, I just would have like been frozen for a second.
Ventriloquism.
And of course, Keenan's working our cameras per usual. Let's get started. So for the larger areas, I like to use larger paintbrushes because it's easier to cover larger spaces with a larger brush. That's the benefit. So I'm going to get my round 6 brush wet. I'm going to pull some blue to the center of my palette and a tiny bit of yellow because I kind of want like a turquoisey color. Again, you can make these colors whatever you want. What I'm also going to do is add some water to kind of lighten it up. So it's like a nice light blue. And I'm just going to start going for it. I'm going to just start on the right hand side. And what I like to do is put the color down first and then just use water to help start spreading it out. If you're not used to watercolor, you tend to only use it to rinse your brushes in between picking up colors, which that's important, but also you have to think of the water as almost a paint color itself. It's also a way to spread out the colors. Like you can see, I haven't picked up any more color from my initial laying down. Now, I'm not too concerned about making sure my wash is totally even, and by that you can see that I kind of have a darker area over here, a little bit lighter. There's some blooms starting to happen. That's okay with me. I am a fan of blooms actually, and because I know like if you did our truck tutorial, like the floral truck, I talk a lot about the different values to making sure that they're on different planes on that tailgate. No, that's not the, is that it?
That is the tailgate.
Oh, deja vu. Let's not get into that. But this is going to be like essentially a smooth surface. This side of the van is on one plane, so we don't have to worry about that as much. Gosh. Can you edit that part out where I'm like, it's not a tailgate?
I might emphasize that you didn't think it was.
Please. Please help. Please help me.
I love these kind of buses.
Oh, me too. Dream car all the way. Now when I get to the front part, it kind of curves up here. And there's like a little strip of color right there. Do you know what kind of cars I actually really love?
Ferraris?
No.
Oh, what?
Volvos, but
Oh.
like the old school ones, like old school Volvo like station wagons are some of they're so boxy.
I am a big fan of Volvos. They're an interesting engine.
Yeah?
Yeah, they have an inline 5-cylinder, whereas like my car has 12 spark plugs. This has 5. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them.
Fascinating.
It's very fascinating. And they have turbo, and that's nice.
Thank you, Keenan.
You're welcome.
Okay, step 1, we did it. And again, because we're mixing this turquoisey color, they're all going to turn out slightly different from each other, and that's okay. That's the joy of mixing colors, and that's why I like doing it, because it just makes it your own, you know what I mean? Also, if you kind of like went outside the lines a little bit on the tire, don't stress, because that's going to be black anyway. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to our red Canoe. And you want to make sure you rinse your brush pretty well so you don't have any leftover blue or green on your paint brush. And then you're going to grab some red and just start painting along, fill it in. In full disclosure, I did not look up the standard size of a canoe and then compared that to a standard size of a van, so these could be disproportionate to each other. But if you want to take the time to do that, feel free to. You absolutely can do that.
I feel like there are different sized canoes. You have like a 6-footer, an 8-footer, 10, 12, 16, like just like
I'm
pieces of
sure
wood.
there are, but I've never been canoeing. I've learned that maybe I shouldn't talk about things that I have no experience with. So I don't want to make any assumptions here, you know?
I'll look it up. I'll see what the biggest canoe there is and how long a Volkswagen bus is.
Good. Good. And then we can compare and see if my proportions are just like so crazy. Also, I initially wrote that this was a kayak, and that is not true.
Kayak is much shorter.
Yes, I actually Googled that right before I sent off the final proof to our printers, and I'm really glad I did.
$188.5 inches.
Perfect. You want to convert that into feet for me?
Yes. Almost 16 feet. That's the Volkswagen bus.
Okay. I'm just going to write a little note here. 16 feet.
I don't know why they told me in inches. That's so bizarre.
It's not very efficient.
No, because it's Volkswagen.
Well, if it was Volkswagen, aren't they European? Wouldn't it be in not inches? They use the metric system.
That's true.
Just doing another layer of red.
4,280 millimeters.
Great. Of the bus?
I have no idea.
Keenan, what are you doing?
Okay, the average length for general tandem canoes is 15 to 18 feet.
Oh!
Nailed it.
So if we're saying this is an 18-foot canoe, or 17, I mean...
Yeah, that's perfect. It's just a custom-made canoe to be more aesthetically pleasing for the Volkswagen.
Thank you. I'm just saying we're pretty darn close.
Nailed it.
For knowing nothing of either of the two.
I know, until just now.
Till right this second. Everybody, good job. I'm proud of you all. Okay, we finished step 2. It's great, it's beautiful. I also love the combination of red and like turquoise together. Great colors. Okay, now we're gonna do the black bits. So there's a lot of silver / gray areas and black areas on the van. So we're just gonna go in and start putting them in. I'm gonna switch to my round 2 because it's smaller and I'm gonna be working in smaller areas. And I'm gonna pick up some black. And I'm just gonna start by kind of outlining the windows on the top. Also, if your lines get a little bit wonky, don't beat yourself up. It's totally fine. Okay, like so. Then I'm just gonna work my way down. We have these windows, and you can see that there's little chunks inside of them, and that's because on the other side of the van there are also windows, but they're not lined up perfectly, so you see into the van and you're gonna see the other wall of the van and also the other wall of some of the windows. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm just going to outline this window. And then to fill in this part, I'm just gonna do a gray. And to get gray, you just add water to black. Just fill it in. If you want it to be really dark, it can be really dark, but I didn't want to make it I didn't want to do pure black because then that could just be like too distracting. You know what I mean? Yeah. Next window.
Have you seen how people convert buses to homes?
Yes.
I've always wanted to do that since I saw it.
I'm one of those people where I look at that and I'm like, I wish I was the type of person that could happily live in 10 square feet, but I really don't think I am. I appreciate
maybe like
when people are.
A trip, you know?
A trip would be cool.
A few days, a week or so.
I could do a few days, but I just imagine like trying to cook in a place where you have this much room to cook.
Yeah. I would put a small like camper oven on the back of the vehicle and cook outside.
But what if you're traveling around and there's poor weather? You know what I mean?
Then you don't eat.
You don't eat. Well, Keenan's intense here.
I mean, what trip have you ever been on that you don't have like Little Debbie foods? You got cosmic brownies.
Just gas station snacks the entire time.
Boxes of gas station snacks.
All the people that live in buses are like, we just go to the gas station.
Yeah,
we don't have to cook anything.
We don't even have an oven.
They're like, are you aware of prepackaged food? Okay. We're still just kind of outlining right now. You guys are doing great. Oh, that line got a little wonky, but that's all right. I'm still gonna keep on keeping on. We also got the windshield here. This part is the side mirror, so that I'm just gonna add a little bit of water to make it nice and light gray. And again, this is a slightly more illustrative style. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through and doing exact shadows and value changes for form because I think it's sometimes fun to do more of a loose, just more, I don't know. I don't want to say cartoony, but I feel like I said illustrative too much. So then we have the headlight here. And some of that, the top part where it's actually light, is just going to be white. And I'm just doing a little circle in there. Can they see that pretty good?
I can zoom in if you'd like.
As long as they can see that.
Yeah, they can see it.
Okay. If you want to paint these whole things silver, you can, or gray. I just kind of more outline them. Oh, and I forgot to color this part turquoise. I can do that right now. little hole. Okay, still grabbing some gray. Okay, it's looking good. We're gonna move on to the tires.
Back tire first?
Yep, back tire first. So right underneath the van and behind the tire, this is gonna be pure black because it's the inside of the car and that is heavily shadowed. So you will not see it very well. That is why it's black. Also on this side, which I think there wasn't a spot to outline it, but that's okay, it's just a line. Now the rims here are metallic, so they're gonna have different values, which means you wanna make sure you have a dark, medium, and light. This little pizza slice here, I'm gonna leave that white for glare. I just put a dark value at the top, and then I'm just using water to spread it around. It doesn't have to be perfect, we just wanna show, yes, there's dark, medium, and light values in here, just to give them the feel of kind of like that shiny metallic that are on rims. Okay. And then the part around that silver part, this white circle, that's going to be left white. And then around that is just like a light gray here. Not around the whole thing, just around like the top. And then this part of the tire is going to be black.
Got the old white walls on there.
The what?
White walls?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
The tires.
Yeah?
There are tires that are they're white walls. They have a white line around them. The wall of the tire is white. I don't know.
Can you say the exact same thing like 3 more times and then I think I'll get it?
I'm trying to take a book out of Sarah Cray's pages, say it backwards, and say it 3 times the same way.
That's what I do.
I'm trying to figure that out.
I'm just going to repeat it over and over.
It's a wall of white on the wall of the tire.
The edge of the tire.
Yes. Not the outside edge, the inside edge next to the wheel well.
So here.
White walls, yeah.
Okay, so the part I said
Now,
to leave white.
I could be completely wrong. Now that I'm saying this out loud, I'm doubting myself.
I know. That's the rough thing about making videos and putting them on the internet. Keenan, I think you're right.
Thank you.
It sounds right.
Yeah.
And then this is the other tire that's behind, that's on the other side of the vehicle. That's what's going on right here, okay? If you want to leave a thin white line in between them, you can. What I do is I usually leave a white line so they don't bleed together, and then I'll just go over with like a damp brush and just make it gray. Also, it's really hard to make perfect circles, even when you have an outline, so just be nice to yourself right now. Don't get too caught up on the wheels. Okay, that's one wheel. Let's move on to the next one. Same thing, so that middle one is silvery metallic, so it's gonna have a white glare, a medium value, and a dark value. So dark value at the top, rinse your brush, just use water to spread out the rest of the area. Okay. The part around that is white because these are, what is it called, Kanan? White?
I'm Googling it to double check.
Okay. And then this is going to be a light gray area on the tire.
Yeah, nailed it.
What is it called?
They're white wall tires.
White wall tires.
I think they're generally for like old classic type cars.
Yeah.
But I don't know that these are necessarily the white wall ones.
Because you're saying I didn't do a very good job painting them?
Because I didn't know if that was your plan.
That was my plan.
Oh, then perfect. Then they are. Can I get white wall tires for my car?
I don't see why not. This is America. Okay, and then just using water to make this gray area. I know tires, when we've done cars before, really trip people up, but I'm here to tell you that if you make a car and put two black round things at the bottom, people are going to know they're tires.
Whether they're round or flat.
Like, I'm just saying, our brain jumps to conclusions a lot visually. It's helpful in most cases. It's not helpful when you're trying to copy something. It's helpful when people are viewing your art because they're going to be like, oh yeah, tires, cool, and move on. Okay, they're not going to sit there and just stare at the form of your tire, because usually tires just aren't very interesting. But that's just me. Maybe people love tires.
It makes sense when you say that our minds come to conclusions, because if you think about a giant picture that is a collage of other pictures, so like it's someone's face, but the shading are pictures of that same person. Have you seen those? You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
So that's what I think of when you say our minds come to conclusions.
They do. Visually, they jump to conclusions for us.
Yes.
Okay, I did my tires, I feel good. Now I need to put just a little bit of shading on the white part of my van just to give it, so it's not totally flat, right? So right underneath my Canoe, there's gonna be a little bit of a shadow, right? Because the Canoe is on top of my van, therefore casting a shadow. So I'm just taking my watered down black, which turns to gray. I'm just doing a shadow there, and I'm gonna put a little shadow on the back part of the bus, again, just to give it a little bit of form. It doesn't have to be super dark. I'm working really, really lightly here. Now your red might bleed a little bit into your shadow. That's okay, because actually if it might have a red tint to it anyway, since the Canoe is red and the object that it's reflecting on is white. So that's okay. Don't get upset about that. Okay. There. That's step 3. Congratulations, you guys are doing great. We are going to move on. Oh wait, hold on, I gotta do the other side of this black. Okay, we are going to move on to step 4. We're going to do the ground. So I kind of did like a dirt path, so it's brown. So to mix brown, I'm just going to grab red and yellow to make orange, because brown is dark orange, and then grab a little bit of black. And you have brown. Voila. So underneath the tires is where I'm going to put this color first, because the tires are touching the ground, so that's where there will be a dark value. Go a little bit up behind the tire too. Don't just stay right in line with the tire, because the ground continues underneath the van, right? Then just take some water and use water to spread. Again, the ground will continue underneath the van. So that is why this brown is going all the way up. Whoa, that's yellow. There we go. I wanted my brown to be oranger. And I'm just continuing this color up in the front, and again, keep continuing it. I'm gonna stop it about there. Notice that I'm lifting up my brush and just doing kind of uneven brush strokes. I'm going to do an extra layer of brown underneath the van as well, because the van would be casting a shadow on the ground. Okay, this is a great time to show you. This is really yellow that I painted right here. I put straight yellow there because I wanted more saturation, and it got too yellow to where it's distracting. So you can do 2 things. While it's still wet, you can just take a damp brush that doesn't have any color on it and lift. Or what you can do is, since we have our primary colors here, we can use our color theory to tone things down. Complementary colors, if you mix them together, tone the colors down. So the opposite of yellow on the color wheel is purple. So to get purple, I would take red and blue and mix that together. And if I add water to that, so it's just a light wash that I have here, and I put that on top of the yellow, it should neutralize the saturation of the yellow. And that way it's not so like in your face bright. But if you want it in your face bright yellow, more power to you. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, I'm going to lift up some color here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, there's our ground. Now we're going to put in our background. Again, you can make the background totally different than what I have here. Please feel free to mix this project up and make it your own. I just kind of surrounded it by like grassy fields. So I'm going to mix my blue and my yellow together to get more of a green. Again, you can use your color theory, complementary colors to tone things down. So if I mix my yellow and green together, and let's say I have a scratch paper, and I put this green down, I'm like, oh, I like that green, but that is a very vibrant green. It's not like super natural. You can take a little bit of red and mix that in there, and that will tone the green down, okay? So again, this is your painting, so you can do vibrant greens or you can tone them down using red. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of just do horizontal lines, just kind of introducing another color to show there's more grass over here. And when this dries, I'll go back in and do the grass lines. I don't want to do those yet because this is wet and they'll bleed and not be sharp like I want them to. I am switching up the values though, so I'm trying to go in and have some darker greens and some lighter greens, and that just always gives us a little more sense of form. If everything is the same value and the same color across an entire plane, it will make that feel flat. Okay. And then what I'm going to do for around the sides, if my grass starts here, I'm going to first start just by doing a light green wash. That kind of transitions out into like nothing. You'll notice that I'm pushing the color down instead of pushing it up because I want the color to end about here. And so I'm moving the pigment down into the bottom where I want the color mostly to stay. Same thing on the other side. Gonna put green. Okay, and I'm just going to take water to spread out this color. Okay. And then what I want you guys to do is windows are clear, so there will be something on the other side of them. But it's kind of complicated, as in, yes, windows are clear, but there is still glass and there's still distance. So this green right here, there is no windows impeding it. It's going to be brighter. So I'm just doing hints of green on the bottom part of these windows. Very, very light. If you do the green too dark, it's going to come forward and it's going to kill that illusion that this green is actually in the background behind the van. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So it's just a little bit.
Also, pop quiz.
Yeah.
The window and the transparency and the color made me think of it. Do you know what color a mirror is?
No.
Green.
What?
Yeah. So if you put two mirrors and face them, and it does the eternal thingy, if you look long enough, they're green. You'll see the color green. Things will fade in distance with green.
What?
Yeah, I watched a YouTube video about it. It was very interesting.
I have to do this.
It's really cool.
Do we have 2 mirrors?
I don't think so. Dang. We have 1 mirror.
That won't work.
No.
Okay. Good fact, Keenan. Interesting. All right, now what we're going to do is if our ground is dry, we're going to take our 2 and start putting in the details, like the individual. I'm not going to go super crazy, and this is what your brain is going to tell you to do. Your brain is going to be like, oh, grass. You know how to paint grass. And it's going to tell you to do this across the entire thing. But let me tell you, my friends, don't listen to your brain. This is one of those times where your brain jumps to conclusions about what you're seeing. We know that grass is individual. What are they called?
I want to say strands.
Is that right?
I know that's
Aisha?
not right.
A blade.
Blade.
They're individual blades of, yes, they're individual blades of grass. Our brain knows this. However, when individual things that are thin get pushed together, like hair, like leaves in a tree, like grass in a field, they tend to smooth out most of the time. And you just see like hints of the individual blades. You don't see actual individual blades. Our eyesight is just not that talented. So I'm going to try and mix a different green so it stands out from the green that I've already done. And on a couple of them, I'm going to be like, okay, yeah, here we see a couple blades of grass. And maybe there's like maybe there's like a patch of grass in the middle of this dirt road. And maybe on this side, these ones are closer, so they're a little bit longer and they stick out. But if you try and do this texture across the entire bottom of your grass, across the entire thing, it will flatten it. It just will. I don't know why.
Also, perfectly manicured grass like that is expensive.
Yeah. I mean, who has time to do that?
Yeah, I don't know.
So just a few here and there. Switch up the lengths of them, switch up. And also, and this is where it's hard, is your brain likes to make patterns. So even if you're not paying attention to it, you will be doing the same distance between each blade and you will make them all the same length. That's just what your brain likes to do. So you got to be purposeful about it and be like, no brain, this one's going to be longer. And there's going to be a gap more on this. You know what I'm saying? Okay, and then in the back here, I'm going to do some like long thin ones for like wildflowers. We have some smaller ones here. And if you want to get like whimsical with it and put full on like strands of leaves, you can.
Can you throw a cattail back there?
I can't visualize what a cattail looks
like. A hot
like.
dog on a green stem.
Oh, absolutely.
Corn
I
dog.
Can. Here, okay, here's my stem. Let's make a hot dog. Grab some of that brown. Is that right?
That's it.
Hot dog on a stick. That was perfect. And you can do some little wildflowers sticking out here. I can do some black-eyed Susans. You can do daisies. If you want some of them to be red, you can. That might pop up the canoe a little bit. That. And then do the same thing on the back side. What were those called? Cattails? Mm-hmm. I like those. I'm going to do a couple more. Feels right, you know? Belongs in this setting. Do they have something coming out the top of them?
Yes.
They do? Is it like a little black pokey thing? Or what?
It looks green, actually.
Like maybe the continuation of the stem?
Yeah, it literally looks like a corn dog.
Just do a little bit. Maybe a little flower here. Have fun with this. Okay, and then one thing I'm going to go back and do now that oh, I didn't do my straps on my canoe. Silly me.
That's a detail.
I'm just going to use brown. Same brown that I mixed for the ground. You can use black I feel like that might actually be more accurate. I know the straps my husband uses are black, but again, I don't know. Maybe there's multicolored straps, you know? Okay, looking good. If you want to include a sky, you absolutely can. Nothing holds you back. You have blue already on your palette. One thing I am going to do is my shadow kind of took over my tire and it kind of warped my tire a little bit. That's okay, we can just round it back out. There we go.
I'm a big fan of superheroes.
Uh-huh.
And your color theory made me wonder, why do some superheroes have complementary colors? Why do, like, they're always wearing complementary colors?
Well, complementary colors next to each other are very powerful. They work against each other, so they make each other pop.
Yes.
So when you're putting complementary colors next to each other, they like do this, which is sometimes pretty cool visually.
Yeah. Makes
And
sense.
so like usually, yeah, so they'll,
Well, so I Googled it,
yeah.
and there's an actual comic something website that has Color Theory Superheroes Edition.
Really?
A whole thing. I'm gonna read it, see what
Cool.
they say, because it's about their sidekicks too.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Huh,
It's really interesting.
that is interesting.
Yeah. I'll let you know what I find
All
out.
the stuff we teach you here on Let's Make Art.
You're welcome.
Okay. Now you just kind of take the time and be like, all right, is there anything I need to do? I think this looks pretty good. I'm still so impressed that we got our canoe proportions pretty accurate.
I know. Dare I say, incredible.
And if you want to do like a little, I think I might have taken just the tiniest bit of blue and did like a slight blue wash on the top part of my window. I guess since there's no like sky, it doesn't necessarily make sense to do it, but it just felt right to me. You can do that. Just put a little bit of color behind there. That's it. We're done. Congratulations. If you painted this with us, share it. I can't wait to see. I'm sure a lot of you are gonna mix up the surroundings, mix up what's on top of the van. I can't wait to see. Oh, we're not done.
We're not?
Nope. I missed a step.
No.
Step 6.
What is it?
We gotta do the lines on the van.
Oh, the little detail lines. That's
the
part of
detail
details.
lines, because then we can't open the doors if we don't put the door lines in.
What if, now hear me out.
Uh-huh.
Can't see the hinges. This is a concept Volkswagen van. And they're underneath the canoe. Take the canoe off first before you can get in or out.
Genius.
I don't know how you're going to get in or out without the canoe.
Or we can just put them in right now.
Yeah, that works
Okay,
too.
great. So I'm just gonna grab the same blue that we use for painting our van, and I'm just gonna put in these little detail lines here. And then I forgot to outline the handles, but they are on the outline. You just wanna make sure it's a little bit darker so it actually shows up. There we go. Okay, so there are the lines. And actually on the white part themselves, these lines continue. These are the creases where things open. So they continue in the white part. I'm not gonna use blue for that, I'm gonna use gray. And there's one that goes across the entire top as well. So for thin lines, light pressure, vertical hold, move with your shoulder and not your wrist to to go as long as you need to go. There we go. And then I'm just gonna grab some gray. Even though I didn't have I forgot to trace the door handles, I can just put them in. We kind of all know what a door handle looks like. It's just a long shape.
I've opened a few doors in my day.
Okay. And then we have a little vent on the back of the bus too. Here, that's what these lines are. Boop, 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 boop. There. Now we're done.
Nice.
Okay, thank you. Thank you everybody for that. So, can't wait to see what you've done. Post it on Instagram, you could tag us in it, Let's Go Make Art, or hashtag Let's Make Art. Facebook, you can tag us using the same, Let's Go Make Art. We also have a wonderful watercolor community that is large. It's like over 30,000 now. Really wonderful, supportive place where you can share your Let's Make Art projects. It's separate from our business page. It's just so you guys can connect and see what you're painting through Let's Make Art, what you're learning.
And pass through that vulnerable state and share what you're so proud of.
So scary. It's so scary posting your own work, but I promise the more you do it, the less scary it is. And people actually really like to see it because people like courage, and they like seeing it because then it gives them permission to try it. You know what I mean? It's like if everybody started posting out, they're like, hey, maybe I should try this. That looks fun. I've always wanted to do it. It's just a skill that takes practice. That's all it is. So, you guys are awesome. I think that's all I got to say. Bye.